Welcome to Bishop Box Live from DEF CON 30. I'm Joe Seckman, AVP of R&D.
And I'm Tom Eston, AVP of Consulting, also at Bishop Fox. And I am excited to introduce our next guest, and that is Juneau. Welcome to the live stream.
Hey, I'm Juneau. I'm really excited to be here.
Awesome.
A little bit about me. My name is Juneau. I'm a speaker, pen tester, and security researcher at a consultancy in Dallas. I also run DCG 214, the DEF CON group for Dallas, Texas, and am really involved in the Dallas Hackers Association, which is actually a lot of why I'm here.
Very cool, very cool. So I'm really curious about your background and how you got into red teaming and all the cool things that you're doing. Can you talk a little bit about how all this started?
Yeah, I feel like I have a combination of a really traditional path with sort of a taking the weirdest road possible to get there. I grew up a little bit south of Anchorage, Alaska, sort of in the middle of nowhere. Not a lot of technology. More like just outside breaking things. Trying to float down the tiny stream near our house and stuff. So I think as a kid, I was fascinated with computers, but didn't really have much access to them, other than like going to the library to play RuneScape.
Yes.
But I really had this love of just figuring things out and sort of exploring things. I went to college for computer science, and it was actually in college that one of my professors had suggested I try out a CTF. And I just absolutely fell in love with it. I was like, wait, hold on. I've been learning how to make things, but I could just break them instead. And I guess that's kind of an oversimplification, but I just fell in love with the puzzle solving. I've always been really good at gathering information, I guess, and it's just, everything's a giant puzzle. And while I was in college, I got a couple of security internships in Dallas, actually after attending the YSIS conference. When it was down there, so moved down there for work after graduation, where my first job was security adjacent, it was in security, but it was more on the policy side, and so I wanted to get into pen testing. Started going to the Dallas Hackers Association, which is really cool. They meet in this. I'm not making this up. I promise. This neon lit karaoke bar on Goodnight Lane.
Ooh, wow!
Had to say it in that voice.
That's kind of cool.
Where they do fire talks and stuff. Gave my first talk on game theory and behavioral economics. That one I did the prisoner's dilemma, and I made volunteers come up and play through it. I bribed them with beer. And then I ended up giving variations on that talk at a bunch of the local B-sides, and then I did a talk last year for the IoT Village on using game theory in ad hoc networking, and as well as one for the Adversary Village too, which was really cool. That background in economics has sort of been a fun way to kind of bring something I knew into something else I knew into the area. And then actually 2 years ago, I started my first pen test gig. I can't believe it's been 2 years.
Time flies when you're having fun, right?
Yeah. And I absolutely love doing that.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about red teaming. What's kind of your favorite aspect of being a red teamer?
I think there's a couple of things I really like. I think honestly one of my favorite parts of the red team engagement process is recon. I just I love especially on the bigger engagements. I love it's like, all right, go find out everything about them that you can. I did get to do one physical engagement, and I was like, yeah, okay. On Google Maps, plotting where I could climb up the building. My boss vetoed that.
No climbing buildings?
I was like, I've got shoes, but plotting a route in which an adversary could get up there,
Sure.
Finding trash cans to go through, and as well as also network reconnaissance trying to come up with the fastest ways to do fastest, most accurate ways to do host discovery. But I think, but the thing I like the most about the entire red team side is in addition to getting to solve things as a consultant, I see so many different things throughout the course of my job, because we're constantly switching clients and stuff. And so I've gotten to test ICS stuff, do some physicals, do like some really cool web apps and APIs, but it's just changing constantly, and it means I also have to be learning constantly.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to ask you is like, how do you keep up with, especially in red teaming, there's so many, like you said, technologies and new things coming out that you may have to assess. Like, what do you do to kind of stay ahead of the game?
I think one of the biggest things I definitely do is attending a lot of the local meetups, local B-sides, talking to folks I know. I'm also a firm believer, in all of this is just standing on the backs of giants. Using blogs, I use a lot of Bishop Fox blogs, using people's blogs and research. And then I actually every month for DC214 compile a list of the latest tech news, cool exploits that have happened. So I'm kind of forced to come up with that to present every single month, which is nice, because even if I'm doing it the day before or day of, which anyone who's been to DC214 knows happens a fair amount, I'm kind of forced to get caught up with at least the most fascinating topics of the month in a pretty in-depth manner. But it's definitely interesting, I think. And then my team does these knowledge shares where we all sit around and talk about what we've learned. And, I think every single week one of my coworkers comes in with something I've absolutely never heard of. And that's a really cool way.
Yeah, and speaking of fascinating topics, one of the topics that I think you were obviously excited to come to DEF CON and hear and see and talk about was the discussion of modification of medical tech for disability awareness. Can you shine a little more light on that?
Oh yeah, I'm really looking forward to that talk. That's tomorrow at 10, I believe, because I think it touches on a couple really important things. One, obviously, securing medical tech is such a major issue right now. Ransomware attacks on hospitals and medical technology have skyrocketed, and I think so securing medical tech is really important. I also think, sort of with the advent of, or sort of the widespread adoption of things like 3D printing and other at-home fabrication techniques, we're finally getting to we're getting closer to a place where disabled people can create the tools that they need, as opposed to people who aren't experiencing the exact same things creating things for them. I've seen so many cool projects, especially around 3D printing to, create add-ons to prosthetics. And so I think making the fabrication or modification of tech more accessible to the people who actually are needing to use it. These tools, by and for the people who need to use them, I think.
That's fascinating. One of the other areas too, and as the badge, and we were discussing prior, an affinity for music and playing multiple musical instruments in that front. How has, and I myself play multiple musical instruments as well. I've also found
we should jam later.
As well as song. Yeah, let's do it. Yeah. I have found music to be kind of this broad, expansive thing that has helped me through multiple areas, whether it's math or schoolwork or memorizing things or memory or just feel. Like, do you have the same kinds of senses as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd sort of mentioned I didn't have a ton of exposure to computers growing up, but I definitely had a ton of exposure to math. And I think because I started the piano, I think when I was 7, because I think at age 5 I started begging my parents to let me play the violin. You started piano and then started violin a couple years later. But I think having that way of thinking about math has really helped, because I absolutely love these badges because the years of classical violin have finally come in handy. Playing all the little measures on everybody's badge here, or writing my own bad video game music on it. But I think it's really, I think music is a really or you can think about it really quantitatively, and that's helped a lot with math. I also think, yeah, having that creative expression away from the computer has really helped. Although once you get back to recording, because that's a lot. Obviously, a lot of my hobbies and friends are within the security group. But having like the chance to play bass with my band. Although actually, I'm in this band because I worked with the drummer, who's also a red teamer.
Oh, right. Cool.
And having a outside thing to do that sort of flexes those same muscles in my brain, but in a different way, as well as I think bringing music into these spaces is so much fun. I love all of the awesome DEF CON musicians. At a couple conferences, I've gotten the opportunity to jam with people. I knew I should have brought in my mandolin this year. But I've gotten to jam at like ShmooCon and stuff with folks, and sort of finding those communities here, I think is really cool. And in fact, I got to give a talk at Pancakes Con on the physics of music and the Nmap scripting engine. And the physics of music part was just so much fun. I had, went from like a washtub bass to my actual upright bass. And yeah, kind of a good way to explain sort of the math behind that to people who haven't had as all the million years of like music theory beat down.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome. So maybe thinking about like new people coming into the industry, and maybe specifically women that want to be pen testers, want to be a red teamer one day. What kind of advice would you give them?
I think for me and I think a lot of people say this too, but I'm going to echo it, is finding a community of of the types of people you sort of want to become, because I think early on I got the chance to go to Tribe of Hackers when it was in Austin, and just going down there and literally sitting at the table with some of the coolest people, I think was really, really inspiring. And I think local community has such a important role in bringing people in, getting them excited, and uplifting them. And I think that's definitely something I try to do with DC214. I want to make sure it's not just the Juneau show. I obviously want to bring in people who are like our members who are speaking at DEF CON and stuff, but also give people a chance to run talks that they're not sure about. Just try to pair people up to be roommates for DEF CON, and uplift as many people as possible. I also think coming in as a new person, you really, I know I do this, get fixated in on, oh my God, there's so much I don't know. And let me tell you, 2 years into pen testing, oh my God, there's so much I don't know. I the point where it's like, wait, I don't need to memorize everything. I, can have it in my notes, know that I've seen it before. And yeah, I think just learning wherever you're at, definitely accepting that you can say, I don't know. Yeah. That's something when I started early on, someone's like, do you know about this? I was like, yeah, I'll figure it out later. Yeah. And you can do that, but you're just making things harder for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a recurring theme of some other conversations that we had, is just having the courage to say I don't know and ask questions, and stand behind finding those answers no matter what kind of flack you receive in that quest for the answer.
Yeah, exactly. So tell us about some stuff you got coming up. Do you have any other talks coming up or research that you might be working on?
Oh yeah. I don't have any talks in the works right now, which is very strange. It's like the first time that's happened, because my big side project right now is grad school.
Oh, okay. Right. That's going to be a lot of time.
Yeah, I'm a couple semesters in, slowly chugging along, obviously doing it part-time since I'm working. Right. But in addition to that, I think one of the topics I'm the most interested in right now is just ways to try to circumvent personal data tracking, or particularly the correlation of that data, because that's sort of the big thing. It's like, okay, I give my name and email to this site. All they have is my name and email, but oh wait, I gave my email and address to this one. And because this is definitely something we, action has to be taken on. I think we've seen a lot of really good really good technological advancements, like say with the Apple Do Not Track
Yes.
features and
Great.
stuff. But I think personally, I think the big step we need to do is figure out how to sort of just brute force spam that with information until it's not correlatable. So I have been in all my free time digging in on what tags and stuff, or how is this data tagged, how are they relating it, and how are they dropping false positives, which everything does it differently. It's and it's all very, very proprietary. But I think it would be really cool to see more research in just how an end user can bury their own data, because it seems like at a certain point it is going to have to be in the user's hands, because we're not seeing a lot of movement from either the technology companies or the powers that be. And sort of looking into that, I've been just absolutely terrified every day with, because I'm generally using myself as a case study here, and I feel like I'm a pretty privacy minded person, but I wasn't always, and I grew up on the internet, and so there's it's definitely interesting to see. And then the step of that is okay, because we can be private, we can figure out how to spam these things. Like I've seen a lot of good movements around some of the like women's health tracking apps saying like, all right, everybody download it, enter as much chaotic data as possible. And I absolutely love those movements, but moving it to something that's accessible to every single user, I think is a really important next step.
Yeah, completely agree. That's awesome. So tell us a little bit about how people can get a hold of you or follow you on Twitter. What's the best way for people to find out what you're doing?
I'd say Twitter is the best way to see what I'm doing. See a lot of dumb jokes, and that's at JUN34U_SEC, or as well as email hack.juneau@gmail.com.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the live stream. Really fascinated with your career, and I wish you luck in all your future endeavors.
Yeah, thank you so much. This was really cool.
Awesome.
Right.
Thank you. And so we'll be back with more from the Bishop Fox live stream from DEF CON coming up.